Good morning, and we're in chapter 6, and we're going to start talking about Solomon building the temple. I think this is a great chapter. As I said before, we ended on a really bad note with David in a way, where he broke his covenants, basically. But also something that we haven't really looked at is that David made a mistake and he tried to make it right. And you see his family falling apart all around him, but here we have Solomon now as king and what he does. These next few chapters, there's a lot of information that we're just going to read through because we're reading it. And a lot of lessons that we'll get from here. But I think it's important to note there is up in the right-hand corner a couple of notes about what the Solomon's temple was like and why. I'm going to just incorporate it in the reading here. First of all, it was just like the tabernacle, only twice as big. That's all we need to know, really. But it helps us to visualize. If we've visualized the tabernacle, we can visualize this temple as well. And there's a lot of different pictures and things that you can go to for that. There are a few differences. There's extra things added, like there's cherubim in the Holy of Holies that cover the ark, not the ones on the ark, but that cover it, that are really tall statues and have the wings out. If you watched Indiana Jones, I think is similar. He jumps on one of the statues, doesn't he? And it came to pass that 480th year, the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt. So 400 years. Interesting, it's about the same as the 400 years that they were in Egypt in bondage. And now they've been 400 years out of Egypt and out of bondage, 480. And now the Lord is ready for them to do something different, to have that place for them to point to the temple. In the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, he began to build the house of the Lord. Now, it works out that I think it's 7.5 years, and I think he'll mention it here, but it's just something to keep in mind. It took a while for them to do. And the house which King Solomon built for the Lord, the length thereof was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof was 20 cubits, and the height thereof was 30 cubits. Remember, if you don't know all of the things about cubits and things, I'm not going to deal with it, because we've talked about them before, like the height of Goliath and so forth. But just remember, this is the tabernacle, twice as big. And the porch thereof, the porch before the temple house was 20 cubits. The length thereof was according to the breadth of the house, and 10 cubits was the breadth thereof before the house. And the house was made of windows of narrow lights. And if you just look in there, it says recesses and latticed windows. So they had small just windows that were not not like big windows that we have in our houses or something. Is smaller ones that let in the light. And against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the walls of the house round about, both the temple and the oracle. And he made the chambers round about. And I always think about this, especially later on when they talk about they found this or something and that in the temple. Usually I think they were in these chambers, these places that they could store things within the temple or within the temple grounds against the walls, as it says. And the nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For without the wall of the house he made narrowed rests around about, that the beams should not be fastened in the walls of the house. So these are separate rooms to the house of the Lord. He's saying these serve the temple, but they're not in the temple proper. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone, made ready before it was brought thither, so that there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was in building. So they kept this reverence as such, as they're building this temple, in building it offside and bringing it on-site to finish. Beautiful idea. I was thinking about one of the new ways they're building temples is what they call prefab. There's been a few temples like that. I don't know if all the temples in the future will. I doubt it. But some temples will be built off-site in parts and then brought to the sites to be finished. And I think that's really interesting way of doing it. I think the place is in South Carolina or something that they're building the temples. I just remember reading an article. The only reason why I bring this up is I just thought it tied in a little bit with this. They're not doing it for the same reason, maybe, but I think if I went to a temple like that, first of all, I don't think you'd know that it was built off-site as a site and brought on-site in pieces. But I would, if I was going through one of those temples, I could not help but think of this and the reverence that you can feel from that. It doesn't mean any other temple built is wrong in the way it's built. It's just something else that if you can look at it as pointing to Christ, I think that's the important thing, and build your reverence for it. And this is what they were doing. And the door of the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and they went up with windows into the middle chamber and out of the middle into the third. So he built the house and finished it and covered the house with beams and boards of cedar. Now, I got to this point and I go, okay, so the house, the temple is built. And then he continues, and then he built chambers against all the house 5 cubits high, and they rested on the house with timbers of cedar. And the word of the Lord came to Solomon, concerning this house which thou art in building, if thou wilt walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all my commandments to walk within them, then will I perform my word with thee, which I spake unto David thy father. And I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will not forsake my people. So he's really stressing the if and then, and we've seen that many other times in the scriptures where he gives a commandment, he says, walk in my commandments, and then he says, here's the blessing from them. So Solomon built the house and finished it. The second time it seems he's finished it. And he built the walls of the house therein, and the boards of cedar, both the floor and the house and the walls and the ceiling. And he covered them in the inside with wood, and covered the floor of the house with planks of fir. And he built 20 cubits on the sides of the house, both the floor and the walls, with boards of cedar. He even built them for it within, and even for the oracle, even the most holy, even for the most holy. So now it's going to detail, even though it says it's built. Well, how did he build it? Let's go into detail. And he not only built cedar around the things, but in the most holy place as well. He takes a lot of care and concern for the Holy of Holies. And the house that is the temple before it was 40 cubits long. And the cedar of the house within was carved with knobs and open flowers. It was always cedar, and there was no stone seen. So knobs, of course, are like little knobs or something. And open flowers. You can imagine how it looks. And the oracle he prepared in the house within to set there the ark of the covenant of the Lord. And the oracle in the forepart was 20 cubits high, and 20 cubits breadth, and 20 cubits in the height thereof. He overlaid it with pure gold, and so covered the altar, which was of cedar. So you see that now they're putting gold over things as well. And Solomon overlaid the house within pure gold. And he made a partition by the chains of gold before the oracle, and he overlaid it with gold. Now remember, there's a few things in here. First of all, David never got to build the house. He was told he couldn't build the house, but he collected a lot of stuff for the house of the Lord throughout his life. That's how he was able to do his worship, you might say, and do his part. But Solomon also had a lot of people that he's built relationships with. Queen of Sheba is probably one of the famous ones, where she gives to this building of the temple. Okay, and the whole house he overlaid with gold until he finished all of the house. Also the whole altar that was by the oracle he overlaid with gold. And within the oracle he made 2 cherubims of olive tree, which each 10 cubits high. So these are the things I was saying, that he's built everything twice the size, but he's also added these cherubims. And 5 cubits was one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits the other wing of the cherubim. From the uttermost part of the one wing unto the uttermost part of the other were 10 cubits. And the other cherub was 10 cubits. Both cherubims were one measure and one size, and the height of one cherub was 10 cubits, and so it was it of the other cherub. And he set the cherubims within the inner house, and they stretched forth the wing of the cherubs, and they stretched forth the wings of the cherubs, so that the wing of the one touched the one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall, that their wings touched one another in the midst of the house. And he overlaid the cherubims with gold, lots of gold, and he carved all the walls of the house round about, and carved figures of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers. Again, it's carving, and you've got cherubims and palm trees and open flowers within and without. And the floor of the house he overlaid with gold within and without. And for entering the oracle, he made doors of olive tree and lintel and side posts that were a fifth part of the wall. The 2 doors also were of olive tree, and he carved upon them carvings of cherubims and palm trees and open flowers, the same type of carvings as before, and overlaid them with gold, and spread gold upon the cherubims and upon the palm trees. So also he made for the door of the temple posts of olive tree, a fourth part of the wall. And the 2 doors were of fir tree. The 2 leaves of the one door were folding, and the 2 leaves of the other door were folding. And he carved thereon cherubims and the palm trees and open flowers, and covered them with gold footed upon the carved work. And he built the inner court with 3 rows of hewed stone and a row of cedar beams. And in the 4th year was the foundation of the house of the Lord laid, in the month of Ziph. In the 11th year, in the month of Bull, and the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts thereof, and according to all the fashion of it, so was he 7 years in building it. You can see how this has taken that time. They worked hard on it. They made sure everything was right, and they didn't build it on site because of the reverence they have for the Lord.